What is up, everybody? Welcome back to 9 to 5 Gamers. Today we are doing another top 10 Tuesday, and last week y'all cooked that video. It was pretty interesting because it's like YouTube didn't know what to do with it because it had like a 60% like to dislike ratio, so it was like 60-40, and it was like people really hate this video, but it kept getting views. So thank you guys for watching the video and commenting and saying stuff in the comments, because it just created this tons of interaction, which I loved. And that's what we want, man, for the channel. If you want to continue to see this channel boom, continue to interact with the channel, continue to like. Don't forget to comment on these videos. It helps out so much. And become a subscriber. Most of the views that I get are from people who are not subscribed. And we're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers. So please help us get to that goal by subscribing right now before this video starts. And in the comments section today, we're going to be talking about underrated games. Last week we talked about our overrated games. If you haven't seen that video, go ahead and give it a watch. You will be upset. And that's okay, because most of it was just shtick, right? Like, it was just joking around. I'm just kidding. Like, a lot of those games, I'm like, I like these games, I'll play them. I just think that they're a tad bit overrated. They're all in the BGG top 100, and so check out that video. Today's video is going to be the exact opposite. These are going to be games that I've played, that I own, that I love, that are, I believe, underrated, that they're not in the B top 100 and maybe should be, or maybe not even should be in the top 100, but should be rated maybe a little bit higher. And the list is going to go from like least egregious to most egregious. So why don't you guys stick with me in this video, and in the comment section, let me know, what is your favorite underrated game? What are those hidden gems in your collection that you just love and wish they would get more attention? And I'm actually going to include their rank and their BGG score, so that way you guys can see that and keep that in mind as we're doing these rankings. My number 10 is a game that I really love, and all the people in my friend group, we love playing it, and it's Draftosaurus, okay? And again, this is kind of like least egregious, because I felt like, and in your head, if you're saying like, no, Draftosaurus is really well known, you know, like I don't think that that's underrated. I think that's properly rated. You might be right, but the fact of the matter is that Draftosaurus, as good as it is only coming in at 629 in rank overall, which there's thousands of games, so that might actually be kind of high, but at the end of the day, it's not in the top 100, and it's hundreds of games away from the top 100, and it's coming in at a 7.1 on BGG. Draftosaurus is one of my favorite drafting games. You have this little Jurassic Park in front of you. It's a little park with little compartments that you can place these wooden dinosaurs, and you're drafting those wooden dinosaurs. You get a handful of them, you select one, everybody puts it onto their board, you hand the pile over to the next person, they get it, they look at it, and then they take one and they draft it, put it in their park, and then you pass it. That's the whole game. But the scoring is so interesting, the way everything is scored. It's like certain pens, it's like you need all of the same dinosaur. This pen, you need all different dinosaurs. This pen are couples. You need to put dinosaurs together with their same species. This one, any 3 dinosaurs. If the dinosaur doesn't fit in one of your parks, you throw them in the river, and it's really cool. And the game plays super fast. It's lightning quick, super fun. Cannot believe that it's so ranked so lowly. That's my number 10. My number 9 is a game called First Rat. First Rat is super good. It's 724 on the overall rank, and it comes in at a 7.6 on BGG. That's pretty high. I'm thinking anything above a 7 is decent. You know, that's a pretty good game. I think that's where most games rank. I think most average games, they're ranking in the 7s, but I have this game ranked a lot higher in my own collection. I really love First Rat. It's so much fun. The way that it works is that you have all these little rats that you're trying to get to become ratronauts, and you're trying to get them to the moon because the moon is made of cheese. But it reminds me almost of like a Candyland board, where just like every space is like a different color, and it has like little resources on it that you pick up when you land on them. But the cool mechanic that I like is that you start off with like 2 rats, and you can move your rats. You can move like one rat like 3 spaces, or you can move both rats, I think it's like 2 spaces, but they have to land on the same colored space. And sometimes you can just get in a ton of resources, and you take those resources to build rocket ship parts and build rocket ships. And there's so many different ways to score in this game. There's like this mechanic where you can use cheese to like buy items from like vendors that are on the map, but if you want, you could totally just steal the item and not pay any cheese, but it'll send your rat back to the starting space. But sometimes that works out because it's like, I want to continue to build up this ramp And if I got sent back and I was really close to the finish, it's like, cool, no problem, because I'm just going to get even more pieces. So you've really got to weigh out your options here. And it's just such a cool game, and you can get more rats that are like in this little burrow, and then it's like when you give birth to more rats, they get put onto the map, and then you'll have like 4 rats on the board, and you're moving all 4 at the same time. Super cool, man. I think this game is severely underrated, and I was just watching a video on TikTok of a guy who said the exact same thing, and I was like, see, that was on my list of underrated games, so we agreed on that. So anyway, that's my number 9. My number 8 is a game called Star Wars The Clone Wars. Now, this one's kind of tough because it's like just a re-implementation of like Pandemic, and so it is basically Pandemic, but the game plays a little bit differently than Pandemic, and honestly, in my opinion, it plays better than Pandemic does. And I know they do some of these like implementations, and they've done like the Lich King, I don't remember how it's like World of Warcraft. They did like a World of Warcraft version, and there's a couple of different versions, but I like this better than Pandemic because I feel like the cards have more use in this game. In Pandemic, you have cards, but you're just discarding them into the discard pile to do certain things. In this game, the cards that you attain, they get placed out in front of you, and you can activate them by exhausting them to do certain missions. It's cooperative, you're going from planet to planet, it's thematic. I really like this game, and the miniatures are very nice in the game as well. I thought this was a very amazing re-implementation of Pandemic, and I love the different bosses you can play against. There's different bosses that you can fight in different scenarios. It's really, really fun. It adds a little extra bit to Pandemic that I think it needed, but Pandemic is solid. But this game is coming in ranked at 761, and it's coming in at a 7.6. So I think this game is a little bit underrated, and it's so easily accessible, and I think it's like $40. You can get it at any local shop like a Walmart or a Target. They always have them available. I'm not sure if Walmart has it because I got mine at Target, but I really like this game, man, and I played this with a few people, and people were like, wow, this is really fun. And I'm like, it's just Pandemic, but it just feels better than Pandemic. But it's ranked so low, it's kind of shameful. So let's go on to my number 7. My number 7 is a game called Milfiori. It is by Devere Games. It is ranked at 785 overall, and it is coming in at a 7.4 on BGG. Milfiori is an amazing glass making kind of game where you have this board full of like little glass pieces, and you're putting these glass pieces out to score in different areas. And it's kind of like set collection, because if you can put a piece of glass on each of the different symbols in that area, you'll get a bonus of like 20 points. The next player who does it gets like 15, then 10. But it's just placing pieces of glass by using cards. But the cool part about it is that it's a drafting game as well. So like the cards have symbols that tell you which area you could place a piece of glass in and which symbol you can put it on. And you will take a hand of cards and you'll choose which card you want to play. And then one by one, everybody will play their card, place their glass, and then you pass the cards to the next player. Reminds me a little bit of Draftosaurus, but it's so much fun, man, and I'm just so shocked that it's so lowly ranked because it's such a good game. And they came out with an expansion for it, and you know, I think it's one of those games that you definitely want to try first, because I don't believe this is everybody's jam. I struggle with this one because, you know, I've introduced this game to, you know, a good amount of people, and it's clicked for a lot of people, but it didn't click for everybody. So I know that it's probably where it is because not everybody enjoys this style of game, but I think it's really, really fun. I really love it, and I think it's very underrated as far as the BGG Top 100 and overall rank goes, and that's Milfiori. My number 6, this one I think this is where things start to get atrocious for me, because these are games that I've played, and I love these games, and I'm so surprised how low they are on the list. Number 6, Tribes of the Wind. This is coming in at 1,368. So we went from the 700s to the 1300s. And this game is ranked at a 7.4, so it's rated a 7.4 on BGG. Tribes of the Wind is one of the most amazing experiences I've had playing a game. When I finally got this to the table with my friend David, we both were like, afterwards, like, dude, I want to play that again. Like, that game is so good, I can't stop thinking about it. And it was one of those games that we were just like, why is this so low on BGG? It didn't make any sense. And I'll explain how it works. Like Tribes of the Wind, everybody's gonna have this little thing. It kind of reminds me of Hanabi, if you've ever played that. I know that's a higher, maybe, I don't know what rank Hanabi's at, but I know that game got some hype for a while, and it's regarded as a really good game. But basically, like, you have these cards in your hand, and the backs of the cards have a symbol on it, and it's usually like a different element, like water, grass, wind, fire, and you've got these different elements. And so the cards have a stipulation that says you have to have the most yellow cards, or like the most wind cards, and if you do, you can play this card and get this much resources and stuff. And the cool part is that you don't know what cards people have in their hands, but the backs will tell you what kind of cards they have. So it's like, this guy's got 2 wind cards, they've got 2 wind cards, and I have 3, so I have the most, so I can play this card. That game is super interesting, man. I think mechanically that is probably one of the coolest things I've seen, with the backs of the cards being displayed so that everybody can see. It doesn't suffer from that issue that Hanabi does, where you have to hold up your hand like this and you're just kind of sitting there like, oh my gosh, I have to hold this up because people need to be able to see the backs, because it comes with little trays for everybody, so your cards are always displayed. But it's so cool. There's so many different things that it has with the Wind Riders and building your little cities, getting rid of pollution, tokens, and there's so many things you can do with the cards, and each card kind of is like good at a certain type of thing, and you kind of want to balance yourself out, and there's like end game objectives, personal objectives, and different things you're going for. This game is super good, man. This is one of those games that I'm like, I think if people tried this game more, they would probably like it. Not to mention it's got that beautiful Vincent Dutrait artwork, so I think Tribes of the Wind is really underrated. My number 5 is a game called Dice Miner. I picked this up at a random store like in Tampa when I was like driving out there for something. I forgot what we were doing, and I picked up this game and I was like, you know what, it's like $20, I'll grab it, I'll bring it home and I'll see what it's like. And it's a dice drafting game, but all the dice are inside of a mountain, and as you take dice out, dice start to fall and slide around, and there's like certain rules towards it, but you're set collecting dice from this mountain as you draft them, and then you're able to like use certain dice to re-roll your dice, and you could do like a cheers. If you have like a beer, you can do a cheers and you can grab any dice you want, but you got to give a dice, you got to roll a dice and give it to another person, and you might give them exactly what they need, and you're trying to score points by getting the white dice, which have like little pips and numbers on them, and trying to get them in order. And if you can get them in order like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you'll score that whole entire thing, because it gives you points for every single pip as long as they're in numeric order. There's a lot to this game, but I'm sorry, that's not true. There's not a lot to this game. It's very easy to play. It's very simple, and but then you've got like unique player powers too. It's such a cool game, and I think the deluxe copy comes with an actual like not 3D printed, but like a mountain, like an actual like mountain that's made of like plastic, versus like the little cardboard one that the base game comes with. But the base game is fine. I really like this game, and I think this game plays phenomenal at like 2 or 3 players. I think at 4 you're not getting that many dice, so it feels a little limiting. But I think at 2 players, you have at some point you have like a whole handful of dice, and you're just rolling all of these dice everywhere. It's so much fun. I love Dice Miner. It's ranked 1,420 though on BGG, but it's coming in at a 7.3. My number 4 is Dale of Merchants. Dale of Merchants is coming in at 1,698. Yeah, 1,698, and it's coming in at a 7.8. This is almost an 8. Now, the reason why I'm ranking this at 4th and not like at 1st is because of the BGG rank. Like, it's like the 4th most egregious on my list. But Dale of Merchants is a deck building game where you take 3 different animals, and it's made by Snowdale, so they're the ones who made, Dawn of Peacemakers, Horrors of War, the newest ones, Lands of Galzer. So all of these games are top-rated games from BGG. Like, BGG has given them the seal of excellence, but for whatever reason, 1698 is so low on the ranking. And like I said, it's a deck building game, but the cool part about this deck building game is that it comes with, if you get like the collection, like the full collection, the all-in collection, it comes with so many different animal cards. Like, each deck is like a different animal faction, and you take 3 factions and mix them together. And then after you mix them together, you put it as a deck. Everybody gets like starter cards that you use to build up like your basic deck building games. And then you buy from the market, but the market is mixed with these 3 different decks of cards. So you're buying certain cards that do certain things. There's a lot of take that. But the coolest part about this game is that Snowdale created an app that you can literally like has little sliders, and it's like, how difficult do you want the game? Do you guys are like more advanced gamers? Also, do you like take that and being mean? How mean do you want the game to be? You could put the meanness all the way up, you could put it all the way down, and like how much player interaction do you want? Do you guys want to do your own thing, or do you want people to be able to interact with you? And it has like all these different sliders with different ways that you want to play, and then after you hit complete or whatever it is on there, it'll literally say pick these 3 decks for the optimal game of your play style. Dude, this game is so well put together, and I'm like, somebody recommended it to me for my top 10 deck builders in the comment section, which, by the way, don't forget, in the comment section, put your underrated game, because somebody told me when I did my top 10 deck builders, they said, this game is amazing, you should get it. And they had told me that back in 2023, and then they did the Peacemaker's Horrors of War Kickstarter, and I was like, okay, so if they're doing that, or I think it was on GameFound, if they're doing that, I can pick up Jail of Merchants, I can get Peacemaker's Horrors of War, and I can get Lands of Gaia all in one, and the price was like super affordable. I was like, bro, this would have made my top 10 deck builders 1,000%. It would have probably been on the lower side, but as far as my top 10 deck builders, this definitely would have been in top 10. Jail of Merchants is really good. It's just such a shame that it's rated so low and so many people won't play it. You guys need to give this game a chance. It's really good. I am a believer in Jail of Merchants. Thank you for the person who recommended it to me, because it is phenomenal, and I'm sad that I didn't have this game earlier. Now, on to my number 3. 10 Penny Parks. This is coming in ranked at 1761. It is a 7.5. If you've never played 10 Penny Parks, it is an amazing, it's like a worker placement polyomino game. And so you're placing your workers to get certain things. You can get money, you can get amusement or theme park rides, but you got to pay for them. And then you can get tree removal off of your map. So you have this little square grid with like these little grid spaces, and you're building your polyomino theme park attractions into your park, but you got to clear out trees to make room, and there's like objectives. It's such a fun game, man. I was like, dude, and it's so well produced. I think it's by Thunderworks Games, and Vincent Dutrait did the artwork. It's beautiful. The cardboard is like extra thick cardboard. It's not like cheap thin cardboard. It's just so well put together, and I'm like, I cannot believe this is ranked so low, especially because it's got a 7.5 on BGG. Usually those games are pretty highly ranked, but I think the biggest barrier to entry for this game was it's how expensive it was. I think it came in like $80. I think now you could probably get it cheaper, and I'll tell you what, if people play this game more often, or people are able to get their hands and it's a little more accessible, I think this game would go up in the ranks for sure. But 10 Penny Parks is amazing. It reminds me of like Baron Park with more mechanics, and I know Baron Park is really fun because of its simplicity, but if you're looking for something that's a step up from Baron Park, or a step up from like any kind of like tile, hexagon, what are those, polyomino placing games, this one's really cool with the worker placement stuff. So that's my number 3. My number 2, Caesar's Empire. This came in for Chris Yee from Dice Tower, he gave this a 10 out of 10. And I was like, that's what made me buy it, because I like Chris Yee. And for him to say it was a 10, I was so shocked. He's like, this is my favorite game. Like, it is a 10 out of 10. I love this game. And I was like, I gotta try this. So I found a copy at my local game store, and I was like, it's like $50. Let me pick it up. Let me see what this is about. I played it with some people, and I was like, dude, it's quick. I can literally teach this game in like a minute or 2. It's fun. And I was like, I could totally see this being a 10. Now, it's not a 10 for me, but I'm just so surprised because Caesar's Empire is coming in at 2,219 on the ranks. I'm like, what? More people need to play this game, because it is a shock to me, and I'm pretty sure Christy would also agree, that this is kind of lowly ranked. It's at a 7.2 on BGG, but man, what a great game. It's so simple. You got Rome it's like a big map. You got Rome in the center of the map, and you're just building like these little trails of like soldiers, and all the roads lead back to Rome. And what you're doing is, as you extend these roads, at the end of your turn, you count how many of your figures are on that road, and that's how many points you score. And if you happen to tap into some like gold resources, you double the points. So if you have like a really long road and then hit a gold coin, it's got little collections of different types of resources that you find on the map. You score points based on the tiles that you pick up. dude, this game is great, man. I was pleasantly surprised at how well it played, how quick it played, and how easy it was to teach. I'm just so surprised on how low it is on the rankings. And now for my number one. My number one is ranked 5,946, and it is rated a 7.5. I think that it's lowly rated because I don't think there were a ton of copies for this game, because I think it was like the first game this company produced. But they recently came out with an expansion, and let me tell you something. Holotype is probably one of the most underrated games I've ever played. And it's weird too, because it plays very similar to Lords of Waterdeep. It's not completely like it. It's not identical. They have their differences. But it's got such interesting mechanics where you're collecting cubes, and those cubes will buy dinosaurs for research. You're not buying the dinosaurs. You're placing cubes to research different dinosaur fossils. But as you publish your findings and things like that, you're doing like some kind of like set collection stuff with some of the objectives. It's got worker placement, but the cool part about the worker placement is that there are 3 different worker sizes. There's small, medium, large, and then like each bigger one can bump out the little one. But you got to be careful when you do that, because it creates this super interesting interaction where like I really need to take that space, and there's a medium worker there, so I'm going to bump it out with my large worker. But when I bump somebody else's worker off a space, it goes back to that player ready. Like it doesn't go into like a discard pile and then you got to ready them back up and pull them all back. You do have to do that if you run out. But if somebody bumps your worker back, then they get that worker to get out there and place it. It might actually mess up an opponent, because you might bump a worker out when they were ready to recall everything, and then they get the medium worker or the small worker back, and then they're like, I don't even have a space really to put my small worker, so I'm gonna have to recall. But the recall was only recalling 2 of them, so it's like, man, I was gonna do that anyway, but now it just feels bad because I didn't recall all 3 of my workers. It's such an interesting game with the worker placement aspect, and the way the scoring works is, you're scoring based off the cards. But if you have like 5 of a certain type, you'll maybe get bonus points because of like an objective that you have. And the expansion, to me, the expansion for this game was like Tuscany was for viticulture. This is for Holotype. It adds unique individual player boards with goals and rewards so that you're getting more points and more stuff to do your turns with. But you have your own tracks, and each track is unique, so everybody's kind of going their own route, but there's a ton of interactions still. I really love Holotype, man, and I am shocked that it's coming in at almost 6,000 on BGG's overall rank. It's a 7.5. I think with the expansion, it brings it up a lot. I've really enjoyed playing this game. I continue to enjoy playing this game. I might be a little biased because I really love dinosaurs and dinosaur themed games. As you can see from my little thing over here, I love dinosaurs, and this was from Dice Tower like a year or 2 ago, but I ended up buying it because it was on sale for like $5 or something like that. But I love dinosaurs, and Holotype is just right up that alley, and it has that worker placement that feels a lot like viticulture. It feels a lot like Lords of Waterdeep in some ways with the cubes and different things. So it's just a really fun game, man. I think more people need to get their hands on this game. Brexworks did an amazing job making this game. Definitely check them out. Check out this game and see if you can find a copy, and if you can, get it to the table. It's really good, and I'm just shocked at how underrated this game is, in my opinion. But again, if you listening to the list, remember that this list was constructed by the most underrated in terms of like how far ranked it is on the overall rank. But some of these games, I wouldn't say these are how I rank them in terms of fun. Like if I was ranking this in terms of games that I found the most fun, man, I'm telling you right off the bat, First Rat would be really high on this list. I think Holotype might be my number one, or Tribes of the Wind. I think Tribes of the Wind, First Rat, and Holotype are like exceptional games, and I'm shocked that not too many people know about them. But tell me in the comment section what's your most underrated game, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys had an amazing Labor Day, and don't forget, subscribe. We need to get more subscribers. I want to hit 20,000. I don't know if I'll do that by the end of this year, but I would love to hit 20,000. That's my next goal. So please get those subscription fingers ready, and don't forget to like this video. It helps with the algorithm and everything like that. And if you're looking for additional content, or you just want to support this channel further, check out our memberships. We have memberships as low as $1 a month, meaning for $12 a year, you could support this channel. And you might say, it's just $1. It's not that big of a deal. It actually helps out. If we could get 100 people to give $1 each, That's literally, after YouTube takes my money, it's literally like $60 a month. That $60 a month goes a long way, and it helps out the channel so much. So please consider becoming a member, man. It helps out so much. And I think YouTube pays like maybe like a penny for every like 2 views or 3 views. And so I don't get a ton of money based off the ads. So I'm relying on sponsorships from companies, but also from people like you generously donating to the channel. This is what's going to keep this channel going. So thank you for tuning in. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe. Love you guys. See you guys later. Peace out.